Camp 22, one of North Korea's most notorious political prison camps, greeted new arrivals with rusted iron gates and towering watchtowers. Prisoners, already emaciated from their journey, were forced into striped uniforms under the watchful eyes of armed guards. Established during Kim Jong-il's reign, this camp was designed to erase dissent through isolation and brutal labor. Satellite images from the late 1990s confirm its remote location in Hongyeong. Surrounded by electrified fences, defectors later testified that simply entering these gates meant a lifetime sentence of suffering. Dawn in Camp 22 meant 18-hour shifts in barren fields where prisoners farmed crops they'd never eat. Defectors reported being fed only 100 grams of cornmeal daily while harvesting maize for Pyongyang's elite. In winter, many collapsed from hypothermia, their bodies left as warnings. The UN Commission of Inquiry documented how guards used starvation as control. Tools were counted to prevent suicide attempts. This agricultural slavery mirrored the 1990s famine, where camp deaths spiked as rations dwindled. Public executions were Camp 22's most potent psychological weapon. Former guard An Myung-chol testified that escape attempts triggered mandatory gatherings where prisoners watched families being shot. The condemned were often forced to dig their own graves first. Human Rights Watch confirmed these rituals peaked in the late 1990s when Kim Jong-il's Yodok system expanded. Bullets were rationed. Some victims died by hammer blows to conserve ammunition. These spectacles ensured compliance through collective trauma. Nightfall brought no relief, only overcrowded barracks where prisoners fought over rodent meat. Defector Shin Dong-hyuk described sharing a single bowl of salt soup among 10 people, laced with sawdust to mimic fullness. Medical studies show most developed kwashiorkor, their bodies consuming muscle tissue while stomachs distended. The guard's strategy was deliberate. The 1996 UN Special Rapporteur found Camp 22's daily caloric intake, 400 calories, was half of Auschwitz's. Survivors recalled chewing leather belts to survive winter nights. The camp's sanitary department hid atrocities under clinical pretenses. Defectors revealed doctors tested chemical weapons on prisoners, vomiting blood after inhaling suffocants like phosgene. CIA files from 2002 corroborate these claims, linking tests to North Korea's chemical warfare program. Women were subjected to forced sterilizations using crude tools without anesthesia. The experiments followed a macabre logic: eliminate class enemies while advancing military science. Those who survived were often dissected alive to study toxin effects. Even in hell, resistance flickered. Prisoners developed tap codes to communicate during mandatory silence: 5 taps for danger, 3 for hope. The 2008 Unkoi report verified these covert networks, though discovery meant torture. Some guards turned a blind eye for bribes of handmade cigarettes, as smuggling became the only economy. These fragile alliances were perilous. Informants, called paji, earned extra rations by betraying plotters. Yet the whispers persisted, passed between generations of inmates. Escape attempts always ended the same way. In 2001, a group tunneled out using stolen spoons, only to be caught at the Chinese border. Declassified South Korean intel describes their punishment. Nails were pulled out before burning coals were applied to their feet. Families were executed under the 3 generations rule. Remarkably, some guards helped. One admitted to Amnesty International in 2004 that he couldn't bear the children's screams anymore. Such mercy was rare. Most torturers received promotions. Parental bonds meant nothing here. Women who gave birth had infants taken to raising rooms to die of neglect. Kang Chol-won's memoir details finding a mother cradling her starved child's corpse for days, fearing burial would erase proof of its existence. Psychologists later identified this as ambiguous loss, grieving without closure. The regime's logic was cold. Offspring of enemies carried tainted genes. By 2003, infant mortality in Camp 22 exceeded 90% per Doctors Without Borders estimates. The system wasn't monolithic. Guards themselves faced punishments for ideological softening, yet some smuggled medicine for bribes. Defector testimonies describe a thriving black market. A single cigarette could buy an extra potato. This hypocrisy mirrored wider North Korean society during the 1990s famine, when state rationing collapsed. But compassion was deadly. In 1997, 2 guards were publicly executed for giving prisoners wild greens. Their bodies were left rotting as a warning to others. Camp 22 operated on a grim arithmetic. For every corpse removed, new prisoners arrived. Satellite imagery analyzed by NKDB shows constant construction, expanding barracks, while old ones crumbled. The cycle mirrored North Korea itself. A 2006 UN report estimated 200,000 perished across all camps from 1990 to 2005. Yet, the world only learned through rare escapes like Shin Dong-hook in 2005. His scars, both physical and psychological, became evidence that hell existed on Earth, and still might today.